welcome to Jacob's Quest, and today I just finished watching episode 3 of X-Men 97, and picking right off of where we left, this amazing ending here, very shocking. A second Jean Grey shows up at the mansion right after Storm leaves, and of course she faints, which was her thing. She faints, very memeable, but anyway, so she's there unconscious, and they're all trying to figure out what's going on. Beast ends up carbon dating both Jeans and finds that the one that is new, the unconscious one, is actually older than the one that has been with us for this entire show. And that's gonna kind of be a thing because they leave it really vague as to like how long has this one been with us. And basically, yeah, so the one that is with us is a clone, and the one that just had the baby with Scott is well, it's a clone. It's a clone's baby now. And, you know, right away, I'm sure I'm not the only one who asked themselves, what do you do in this situation here? Because, you know, you don't even know which one did you marry? Which one? I mean, the kid came from this one, and, you know, how long have you been with, you know what I mean? Like, you got two of them here. It's very, it's a unique situation to have. So I don't envy Cyclops in this moment. And basically everyone's starting to doubt Jean, and she's like, no, it's got to be a trick. It's got to be wrong. And she gets really insulted, or not Jean, clone Jean. Okay, I'm going to call her Madeline Pryor because that's what she calls herself at the end. I don't know why or where that name came from. She just decides to call herself that. But just so this is less confusing, I'm going to call her Madeline Pryor. So the one that we've been with the entire X-Men 97 show so far, Madeline. Okay, anyways, she gets really insulted when no one believes her, and so she goes to her room and she starts hearing Mr. Sinister's voice. And, you know, look, I'll admit, this is not a villain I know a whole lot about. I've seen his image just through social osmosis on the internet. I've seen his face before. I've just never known why he was any kind of big deal. I'm like, okay, so he experiments on mutants and that's like his thing. And I'm like, okay, why do we care about Mr. Sinister? He looks crazy. He looks very 90s. He kind of looks like a vampire a little bit. I don't know, like it feels like Blade should be hunting this guy. It's weird. But anyways, yeah, he's here. He's inside clone Madeline's head. And basically he turns her evil, or he flips a switch, or says some kind of trigger, and now she's evil. And yeah, so she leaves with the baby, and now they gotta go hunt down Mr. Sinister and try to save the baby. And it's all a pretty awesome action sequence. Just all of the, oh, she calls herself the Goblin Queen now. And again, I don't know where this Goblin Queen idea came from. I don't know why she's calling herself Madeline Pryor. It feels like there's some context that's missing, you know, like she just kind of says, I'm the Goblin Queen, but it's like, what goblins? What? Who? Where did this come from? Okay. And look, I know it's in the comics. I know, like, that's what the comics did. That's the name she gave herself in the comics. But there was, you know, the comics like had context that surrounded those names, and in here it's just kind of thrown out there. So I'm kind of confused as to why she's calling herself that here. You know, but okay, whatever. She's the Goblin Queen. Anyways, they have epic crazy fights, just her versus Magneto and her versus everyone else, and she's making people see things throughout the mansion, and they're all like tripping and seeing all kinds of crazy psychedelic imagery, and people fusing together, and it's just, it gets nuts. It gets really nuts. In any case, of course, they stop Mr. Sinister in the end, but not before. He's doing experiments on the baby, and, you know, this cyber virus, whatever the hell a cyber virus is, starts infecting the baby, and the only way they know to save the baby's life is, like, maybe there's a cure in the future. So, luckily, Bishop is here. He takes the baby to the future, where, of course, he will end up becoming Cable, and, you know, he's gonna have all these cybernetic parts on him, and well, there you go. That's how Cable became Cable, right? Sent to the future. Oddly enough, he reminds me a lot of, has any of you guys played the Jak and Daxter games? There's a big twist at the end of the third Jak and Daxter game. Anyways, very similar to Cable's story, kind of in a funny way, or maybe like the reverse of Cable's story. But anyways, it's, I don't know, my brain's making that connection. But anyways, so yeah, basically things are a mess now. So they managed to convince the Goblin Queen. Jean talks to her, and they kind of discuss the fact that, like, hey, look, we have shared memories. We both have, like, we kind of have conflicting reports as to, like, which of us has been around longer, which of us actually did these events. There's not really a way to tell, because your memories could be fabricated, my memories could be fabricated. You're reading my mind, I'm reading your mind. It's, again, unique situation. How do you even, what do you do with this? I don't know. It's a mess. But basically she's like, okay, call me Madeline, I'm gonna go make my own life, make my own memories. And she's basically a good guy now. She's out there. We're gonna definitely see her again. And truth is, as powerful as she displayed herself in this episode, like, now there's two Jeans, right? So, like, any kind of threat they come across, if they can go call Madeline for a second and be like, hey, we got two of you now, you know what I mean? Like, we can beat, like, the most powerful things in this entire franchise, because, like, who can stand up against two Jeans? I don't know. So I'm sure it's gonna be more complicated than that, but it's just kind of funny to think about, like, who would even stand a chance against two of them? I don't know. But anyways, yeah, so the normal, new, old, original Jean, so now she's back at the X Mansion, and her and Scott just kind of, like, they're in the darkness in the bedroom, and they just kind of stare at each other, and it's like, oh, okay, guess we gotta have the most complicated discussion in the world. Like, so how's things? Had a baby with a clone. Don't even know if I married the clone or if I married you. How long have you been held hostage? Do you even know? How do you... and very interesting. And again, I have never completely watched the original show. I watched, like, the first, I think, 3.5 seasons of it. So I kind of want to go back and be like, all right, is there actually an episode that we could point to and be like, this is probably when Mr. Sinister switched them? Like, there has to be an episode where, like, there's, like, a moment where Jean's off screen and then she was captured and then she comes back, and then maybe it wasn't originally intended to be that way when they first made that show, but you could, like, headcanon it and be like, yeah, that's when it happened, sure. Anyways, I'm sure they will maybe one day establish that, but for right now they're just gonna leave it like that's where it is. Good luck, fans. Debate that one. But in any case, yeah, pretty nuts. Oh, and then we finally get a glimpse back at Storm, and she is meeting Forge, who it took me a minute to be like, who the hell's Forge? I know I've heard that name before. It is the guy that helps Bishop in the future. So this is a young Forge, and he's gonna help Storm get her powers back somehow. I'm sure there's going to be some radiation machine or gene, something. They're always making up, like, a new science thing to solve their problems in this show. Like, that's kind of what they do. But in any case, yeah, just 3 episodes in, and I'm already, like, fully invested in, like, the personal relationships and the drama and the shocking events, and the fact that they're able to do so much in, like, one episode. It's like that, like, this one episode could have been like 4 episodes worth of content, but they're like, nope, it's all happening right now. Yeah, just the visuals continue to be really impressive, and I'm totally drawn in. You got me, X-Men 97. I'm fully invested. Here we go. So yeah, what happens next now? I don't know. Like, Madeline's gone. You got a new Jean who vaguely remembers everything, but also might have just been reading the mind of Madeline and using her memories. But it's one of those, like, does it matter? I don't know if it matters. It might matter. I don't know. Also, how do you explain this to Storm, right? Because Storm is gonna, she's gonna be off on her own. She's gonna get her powers back at some point. She's gonna return to the mansion, and then they're all gonna be like, oh, Storm, we got a story for you. You might want to sit down for this one. So yeah, just really fascinating stuff. Anyways, let me know what you guys thought about this episode of X-Men 97. I know it's all following the comic storyline, or at the very least it's like taking those storylines and adapting it for the animated series. I did watch a breakdown of like what happens in the comics version of this, and I will say that they managed to simplify it a lot more. Still crazy, and like, yeah, you know, we're dealing with clones and memories and like who did what, when did such and such happen, does it matter, does it not matter, I don't know. But yeah, just crazy stuff, crazy stuff. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about X-Men 97 episode 3, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.